And I wanted to ask you about lucid dreaming and the gaps between dreams or just dreamless sleep. Around 6 months after I started meditating, and I don't know, maybe a month or two after I got it while reading I Am That, I started having lucid dreams. So I started having lucid dreams, and in those dreams I would always want to touch objects and go close to people to find out what they're made of. These dreams would very quickly disappear. I would see the colors and the scenery disappear like mist, but I wouldn't disappear. There's this sense of being and knowing, and it's still there after the dream has come to an end. And then a thought appears sometimes, and I can see how it takes on color and shape, and all of a sudden I'm in another dream. And then I usually lose lucidity, and I'm wondering if this gap between the dreams, or before the dream starts or after the dream, if this is part of the dream, because first of all I can remember it, and secondly, there are some things that I can say about this. So for example, I can say that, well, my first impression was that it's completely silent, but at the same time it's full of big fat sound. Do you know what I mean? Or that it's empty, but at the same time it's super dense, like it's hard as rock, as steel. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's dark, but I can see. And I sometimes have this when I have like a nap during the day, or maybe without all this, you know, density, just more like being and knowing and emptiness. And I'm just wondering what that might be, or whether that was my dream come true, in the sense my dreams showed me what the reality is made of.
And this is, you experience this in between your lucid dreams.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, but sometimes I fall asleep, but I don't seem to be falling asleep. And then there's a dream, and I see how the dream is created. You know, there's a thought, and then it goes. And perhaps I should mention, because I'm a bit of a weirdo, when I...
Keep going slowly. Yeah.
When I got it, that was in December. Then my New Year's resolution was to stay in the witness all the time. So maybe that's, you know, that was my kind of, yeah, my wish. So I'm just wondering what that was.
So in this state between lucid dreams, did you feel that you were in the waking state?
No.
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 So
and there were no feelings, really. It was empty.
Yes, so it was like being awake in deep sleep. You were awake, but there was no waking state content and no dreaming state content. There was just aware, but aware of nothing. That's deep sleep. Most people think that deep sleep is the absence of awareness. It is in fact the awareness of absence. So in those pauses between your lucid dreams, when you are neither dreaming nor in the waking state, you were between two states, the dreaming state and the waking state. And that which exists between two states of the mind is the stateless essence of the mind, which is pure consciousness. And in fact, it's exactly what exists between two images or thoughts in the waking state. In fact, between two images, two thoughts, or two perceptions, we are not in the waking state, even if we're wide awake, because the waking state is characterized by the activity of thinking, imagining, and perceiving. So even if we are wide awake in the so-called waking state, and there is no thought, imagination, or perception, we are then no longer in the waking sleep. We are deeply asleep, whilst remaining wide awake. And deep sleep is not actually a third state that alternates with the waking, the dreaming, and the deep sleep. Imagine a piece of paper, a piece of white paper, and you paint, and it's all white, just a single field. This represents consciousness. And we color 1/3, so it's a rectangle, like an A4 piece of paper. We color 1/3 of it. We paint it red. So this equates to the waking state. That's one state. And then the next third, we color blue. That's the dream state. Yes? So we have these two states appearing in consciousness, the waking state and the dream state. Now, when we look at show the piece of paper to someone, and we say, how many colors do you see? They say 3. Red, blue, and white. In fact, there aren't 3 colors, there are only 2 colors. But because of the presence of the third color, because of the presence of the 2 colors, the underlying reality of both these colors appears to be a third state. In fact, the third state, the white strip, is the background. It's the continuous background of the other 2 states, but it only appears to be a state because of the appearance of the waking, the red and the blue. Well, deep sleep is like that. Deep sleep is not really a state. It is only a state when viewed from the perspective of either the waking or the dream states. There are in fact 2 states in consciousness, waking and dreaming, which makes deep sleep seem like a third state. Are you with me? Now, because deep sleep appears to be a third state, the ancient sages in the Vedantic tradition thought to themselves, okay, if there are now the appearance of 3 states, the red, the blue, and the white, the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, how are we going to represent consciousness? We have to conceptualize consciousness as a 4th state, which is not limited by or qualified by waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. So they came up with consciousness as the 4th state. They call it Turiya. But then they had a problem on their hands. Sorry. They realized that in doing so, they had simply shifted the problem along. They had made it seem as if consciousness was itself a state, a 4th state, as opposed to waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. So then they invented another state, which the 4th state they called Turiya. The next state they called Turiyatita, which means beyond even the 4th state. What they were trying to say is, no, consciousness is not really a 4th state. They didn't mean beyond the 4th state. They meant prior to all the states. What they were trying to show was, in fact, that the white paper that seems to be portion of the white page that seemed to be deep sleep is in fact the ever-present background of all the apparent states. So actually, you can do away with the idea of consciousness being a fourth state, or even the idea of, you can do away with the idea of consciousness being something beyond the fourth state. Consciousness is simply not a state. A state is something that starts and stops. Consciousness is the ever-present background of all states of mind, but is not itself a state. In other words, it doesn't appear in the time and the space that seems to be real from the point of view of either the waking state or the dream state or any other state. So what you were experiencing was the background of awareness. And because it appeared between two dream states, you thought that it was another state. It wasn't another state, it was just the background shining through, which you then interpreted. You tried to use language. You tried to use the language of the waking state to describe it. So you said it was solid, it was dark, it was real. It was, what you mean is, when you say it's solid, is that it's absolutely, utterly indestructible. Not that it's solid like this, but it's more solid than any of the apparently solid objects that appear in our waking state and dream state. So what you mean is not it was solid, but it is indestructible. Mm-hmm. When you said it's dark, what you mean is it had no objective content, and yet it was known by you, it was illuminated by you.
And would it be like death? Similar to death?
The waking state would call it death.
Yeah.
Consciousness would call it eternal life.